how did you start to overcome this sense of unworthiness?
Well, for me, it was a tipping point where it became too uncomfortable to not address it, right? So, I kind of hit rock bottom and had a lot of abuse and trauma through childhood, and then kind of on and off through my teens and then into college. And then I got into some drug use for a few years and just really realized this is not who I am. I don't even recognize this person. Like, this is not who I want to be. But at work, I would show up as a high performer. Nobody knew. Like, it was this closet life, right? And as I got that all together and, found Jesus, met my husband, had kids, I started to really just go into that deep healing work. I've done all of the, esoteric sort of new age stuff, as well as now I'm doing some really deep reparenting therapy that deals with like inner child traumas and stuff, where it gives you a chance as an adult self to go back and actually reparent the child the way in which you felt it needed in the moment that it didn't get. And that's been incredibly liberating. And so I really just had to do the work. Like, there was no clean way to do it, right? I had to roll up my sleeves and just go in and do the work, and then really reconcile with myself. How can I get this out of the way so I can actually live and feel free and not feel like I'm a victim, or I'm triggered by everything, or I'm doing fine and suddenly I'm triggered by this random thing. I just was tired of that. And so I really went in and did the work, and that's why I got into this work, is because it actually keeps me in the work. It keeps me honest and grounded, and I kind of feel like a professor who's out there doing field work but also is teaching in the classroom. And I think that's why my clients feel so safe with me and can open up, and there's something in me, and it's just a gift from God, I guess, that when they get in the room with me or we're together virtually, I'm not asking, really, provocative questions or anything. I'm just having conversations with them, asking open-ended, insightful questions. But there's something in them where suddenly they give themselves permission to put the peacock feathers down and to just be seen as a human, and to finally admit to themselves maybe that one lie that they've been telling themselves and that they can feel free from. And a lot of times it ends up being they resign, and that's not my intention, but a lot of times they resign and they realize, oh my gosh, this role is not for me. Like, I'm actually going to give myself permission to not beat myself up over this, but I need to move on to that next thing. And so that's kind of how I got into the work myself, is just doing it. And then I've just found that I truly believe that God only put me through everything he put me through in life, that I could help liberate others from it too.
Yeah, I was having a conversation the other day. My mother is a very devout Christian, and she's actually she would probably hate that if I described her this way, but I always describe her as a Bible purist, right? She's like a verbatim believer.
Yes.
And I'm not believer through and through. But, we always have these arguments around, I believe the words in the Bible were written by men who are fallible, and she believes that they are verbatim as described by God. And that's not the debate that we need to have. But I was talking to her, and she was asking me about some things that, I've been through in my life, and she's been in her life, and she has guilt for decisions that she's made. She has feeling, she has these sense of doubt around some decisions that she's made earlier in her life. And I said to her, and I firmly believe this, I don't think you can understand good if you haven't lived and experienced evil. And I don't necessarily mean pressed upon you. I mean, decisions that you've made, actions that you've taken in your life that were driven by the enemy. And I think, some people feel like their only acceptance will be if they live this pure life, like if they've never made a bad decision, or they've never done something that was, mean or vengeful. And it's like, no, that's part of being a human. And it's very difficult. And I think what I hear you saying, and I'm sure this is what your clients can experience from being around you, is that they can sense that you've lived it, so they know they can relate to you. If you came in and you were pure and I've never made a mistake and I've only ever been successful and da-da-da-da, like so many people present themselves, you're like, well, wait a minute, how are you going to understand this crazy shit that I'm going through, like these horrible feelings that I'm having, if you've literally never experienced what that feels like? And I honestly believe you have to go through that to be able to be in the position that you are and help people the way that you are.